Hey, it's Liz D'Alto, and this is the Untamed the Wild Soul Woman podcast. From body image, sex, spirituality, money and relationships, to motherhood, creativity, business, communication, and desire, Untamed the Wild Soul Woman is the place to come for real stories and powerful advice to help you reclaim and redefine womanhood in the 21st century. Liz D'Alto here, your host of Untamed the Wild Soul Woman, an amazing conversation series here to speak with powerful and inspiring women on how they kind of say no to the way things are done in our culture to do things their own way. And today I have Alexis Neely with me. You might also know her as Ali Shanti. And if you've watched any of the other interviews, you know I'm not huge on giving you everyone's formal bio. You can read that below the interview. What I want to tell you is why I am super excited to have her here. And I'm going to call you Ali because I like that. And so what I love about Ali is the way she lives her life. Her website is called eyeswideopenlife.com. And that's exactly what it is. And it's really fun to see someone share openly and intimately about, you know, all these experiences. She's an entrepreneur. She deals in the world of finance, but she also deals in many other worlds. Super creative, super loving. And there's, I'm sure, going to be a lot of crazy stuff that we get to dive into in this interview. So how are you? Thank you.
I'm great. Thanks. Thank you for having me here and choosing me to be one of the women that is giving you this PhD in womanhood.
Oh, man, it's just been so fun. And if anyone else has watched even just one other interview, that's exactly what it has been, like PhD and how to be a woman your own way. So the first question that I've been asking everyone is, what do you love about being a woman?
Ooh. I think that the thing that I love the most about being a woman is two things came to mind first and foremost. The first was the ability to feel full body orgasm resonate through my body. And I don't know if men get this in the same way. So I associate that with my feminine self. It was not something that I experienced when I was much more in my masculine in my earlier years, the first 30 years of my life. I was completely numb from the neck down. It was like I lived all up here. I didn't have any connection with my body. I didn't feel anything. And I started to feel. And so like even just right now, I can feel the energy of orgasm alive in my body. And it's like this electrical current that gives me a lot of guidance and helps me to know, like, am I on path? Am I on track? Am I on purpose? And I love that about being a woman. And then the other piece that I really love about being a woman is that I don't have to be consistent. I could be really inconsistent and really follow what's true for me in each moment. And that's what integrity is. The masculine form of integrity is do what you say when you're going to do it, no matter what. And I used to live that, and it was not super awesome. The feminine version of integrity is feel into the moment and live what's true now, even if it's not what you said 10 minutes ago, or 2 hours ago, or 2 weeks ago, or 2 days, you know, whatever it is, a year ago. We change, we shift. And so I love that part about being a woman.
Okay, I love that a lot because this is a conversation that a friend introduced me to just this past summer, where she talked about the scale of integrity and how finish what you start is, of course, on it, but above all else is honor yourself. And like that's what you're talking about, that inconsistency comes from always honoring yourself. So as a person who comes from the corporate world, I know you were a lawyer, and really, a lot of us have had jobs or currently have jobs, probably, a lot of them watching, in that type of more masculine-driven worlds. How do you navigate that? How do you navigate honoring yourself when other people's reaction to that is not accepting? Or maybe they don't, it's not that they don't accept it, they don't even understand it.
Well, and still to this day, I train lawyers on a new law business model. I have a company that does that. And it's run by a CEO who's very masculine. And yeah, they don't fully get it, you know? So how do we allow others to trust us? and be fully in our woman when shift and change. And I think it's all about setting really clear, I don't want to call them expectations, because expectations don't usually go over well, but understandings about the truth of who I am. And so letting the CEO of my company know, like, this is who I am, this is what I need in order to take care of myself, and this is what I'm actually available for. And then in the moment, as that changes, saying, look, here's what's changed. I'm no longer available for this. And I do still honor my commitments that I've made, that are important to honor, even if it might mean, compromising myself for 1 hour. If I made a commitment and it's going to have an impact on a large number of people, I'm going to weigh that. And I'm going to say, okay, am I willing to compromise myself for 1 hour to show up for something I don't want to show up for? And then communicate, hey, listen, I no longer want to show up for this. I'm no longer available for this. Yes, I will do that in order to complete a relationship with care for impact on the other people. So I'm not just going to flake out. So it's really maintaining that both and, that middle ground, and communicating as soon as you possibly can, and not holding in your, oh God, this isn't working for me. Oh God, I'm just going to power through. I'm just going to power through. It's going to work. No, you don't need to do that anymore. Instead, you can say, this isn't working for me. Here's what I am willing to do to complete, and then we'll be complete. And, you communicate that as soon as you possibly can. It's holding back the communication, judging it, shoulding, on yourself.
Yeah.
That is going to create the snowball problem where now you're involved in something that you're like, oh crap, now I'm like so deep in I can't get out. So it's really communicating as soon as you know that something has shifted inside of you, giving people then the chance to catch up.
All right. I love that so much, because even to say, here's what it was when we started, here's where I'm at now, and just like updating people. So you're saying
Constantly.
You get to be inconsistent, but without being a flake. Yes. And so, in fact, your inconsistency is reliable. Because it's like, you can rely on me to be inconsistent, but I'm also going to be honest and truthful and communicate about it clearly. I think that's amazing. And it might be, I'm wondering, I almost wish sometimes these calls were live, not recorded, so there could be Q&A, because I bet there's people who just heard that and the freedom, the shift. I bet there's some people who still aren't even fully absorbing it, because they're like, holy crap, I can't believe I could do that. So tell me, it was not always this way for you. How did you find your way to this place of being able to trust that inconsistency and that natural rhythm and nature of yourself?
Yeah, I think it began with me not doing it really well. And it began with, first of all, learning to come into my body and to feel. That's like ground floor, right? I mean, aren't going to be able to do any of what we're talking about until you can feel yourself. And feeling yourself has layers, right? I'm sure you've spoken of this, with others on these calls. It's like, there's the feeling of my belly. There's the feeling of my heart. That's the one I'm currently working on more than anything, is the feeling of my heart. But there's the feeling of my pussy, right? These are all different feelings that have different resonance and different experiences and different ways to come into them. A lot of it having to do with the breath, right? And so like, as you breathe in enough to like allow the breath to travel all the way down to your pussy and feel your pussy through your breath. That's like a really good first start. Okay, so once you start to like feel yourself, now you could begin to listen, not to your mind, but to what those feelings are telling you. And I remember I used to like be in communication with women who could feel themselves, and I really couldn't. And they'd be like, yeah, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. And I was like, how does she know? What is she talking about?
Yeah.
Now I know. And so really learning to use your body as a divining rod. And there's many modalities you can explore. Tantra is a great one. Any kind of holotropic breath work is amazing. Medicine journeys are wonderful for that. Liz, I'm sure you're doing a lot of different modalities as well. I mean, so much of what you do is all about feeling your body, right? Mm-hmm. So like learn from Liz on that, feel your body. Once you can start to feel your body, once I did, then I would just be really messy with it, honestly. And I didn't communicate, and I lost a lot of relationships as a result. And people felt I was flaky, and they gave me the feedback of that. And what I had to learn to come into connection with is receiving the feedback and not defending against it.
Yeah.
And so it was huge, because of course I wanted to defend, but I tried, but I'm doing my best, but no, you did whatever, going into any sort of defensive mode to not hear the truth. And the truth was I did not communicate well enough. And as a result, there was impact on somebody that wasn't what I wanted, wasn't what they wanted. And so through that, just messing up and receiving the feedback and learning and growing as a result, today I'm, just infinitely more able to communicate in the moment, to know what's true, to know what's really true. Even when I'm afraid, I'm like, oh God, they're not going to want this.
Yeah.
And here's the last piece. To give people the opportunity to show me who they are in the face of my clear communication. Because I used to feel like, oh God, what I want isn't valid, isn't worthy, it's not okay. So I would hold back my communication, thereby putting what they wanted before what I wanted, not giving them the chance to actually be in a relationship with me. Now, and this just came up the other day with a guy that I'm just newly seeing, and I woke up in the morning and I was like, I'm not feeling it this morning. I'm like, all these worries and doubts were coming up about our connection. And I was like, my mind was saying, don't communicate it with him, protect him from these feelings. And then the voice came, and the voice was like, no, give him a chance to meet you here. This is the place to be met. Let him truly be in relationship with who you really are and the inconsistency of your feelings. Sometimes you're going to worry and doubt and think it's not right. Let's see right from the beginning, how does he be with it? So I did. I brought it. I said, hey, I'm waking up this morning feeling a lot of uncertainty about whether this relationship is right, and am I just falling back into a relationship again addictively, and I'm supposed to be single and I want to stay single for a long time, and he handled it like a champ. He handled me so well. He just listened. It's like, yeah, I hear that. It's like, I don't need you. He's like, I want you, but I don't need you. And one day, I will even transcend that desire, and we will be able to just be together beyond even the desire. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in love with you.
You're like, okay, I'm certain.
Yeah, certainty back. But I would not have gotten back to certainty. The uncertainty would have continued to fester and snowball, and I would have found all these reasons to pile on top of it, and reasons that the uncertainty was right, had I not given him the chance, had I not communicated in the moment that I was feeling it. I would have mushroomed it into something it wasn't.
All right. So a couple pieces of that story that I want to unpack, because I think they're so powerful, is when we don't communicate, we actually rob people of the opportunity to show up and show us that they can handle us and what they're made of. I think that's amazing. I've had experiences like that in my current relationship as well. And then there's also, you used the word protecting. I think this is pretty common as women. We think we're too much, right? Like our emotions are full range. Like if I show this person my full range of emotions, they're just going to run for the hills. And I think that is part of like this conditioning, right? Like, you're too much. Tone it down. Don't be crazy. Mm-hmm. But it's cool to say, I am these things, whatever you want to call it, whatever the labels or the language means to you, but I get to experience that full range. And the people who can roll with it are in my life. And the people who can't don't have to be. So you mentioned earlier losing some relationships. Can you chat about that a little? How does that Because that's a question I get a lot in my community, right? And you probably do too. As people go on this journey of like getting to know themselves, embracing their more feminine side, becoming who they really are, people are going to fall off.
Yeah. Yeah. And you actually want them to.
Yeah.
That's the most challenging thing to come into connection with, I think, is that because at least for me, I want everybody to love me. I want everybody to be my friend. I want everybody to want to be my business partner and my client and my team member. And I have to keep remembering that as long as I hold on to somebody who is not a perfect match, I am not making space for the people who are.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to let go. It's so hard to let go. But gosh, every time I do, it's like, whoa, that came in. And so I want to even bring this into the context, in some ways harder there. So
time out.
In the context of business, I've been through a lot.
Business. You got it. It had paused for a second and you said, I want to bring this in context, and I didn't hear what you said, but you said business. We're good.
Oh, yeah. Context of business. So I have, today I have 4 companies, 2 main companies and 2 what I call personal business entities. So they do like my personal fun projects. And then the 2 companies serve our clients. And in one of the companies, my partners just left. I've been through a lot of partners, a lot. And when they left, there was the part of me that wanted to hold on and be like, no, we can make it work. But the truth is, it wasn't a match, even though it looked like such a match. It just looked so good. It wasn't a match. And what has opened up since they left is blowing my mind. And there was like probably like 15 minutes of resistance to them leaving. And then it was just like, okay, what's coming? What is this making space for? Oh my God, it's going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. I would have blocked all of that had I gotten into the resistance around them leaving. And I could have gotten into resistance. I could have made up stories. I could have pointed fingers. I could have blamed myself. I could have done a whole lot of things other than surrender to the reality of they're leaving. We're mid-launch and they're leaving. And holy cow, what's coming? What's come has been, again, mind-blowing. And I can see a place in my business right now where there's a couple of people who are not in right alignment. But God, I really love working with them in so many respects. And it's hard because I can feel the niggling. And in the past, I would have blocked that out completely and been like, oh, your standards are too high. Oh, you need to like just chill out. And I don't think so. And I'm really right in it right now. So I can't say. We're going to have to revisit again in a couple of months and see what came of it. But I'm beginning to notice when it feels 100% in alignment and when it doesn't feel 100% in alignment. And I do believe that it comes down to, how do you handle it when it's hard? How do you handle it when it's hard? It's going to get hard with everybody. You're going to be with a partner and you're going to be like, yeah, he's not the one. That doesn't mean it's not in alignment. That does not mean it's not in alignment. It's how does he handle it when you come to him and say, hey, you're not the one. Or when that team member, you go to that team member and you say, hey, this is not living up to my standards for satisfaction. How do they handle it? If they handle it in any way that does not feel expansive in your body, not a match. Period. And I'm struggling with it right now because I'm getting that with a couple of people, and I want it to be a match. I really, really, really want it to be a match. And so what I will do, and I'm even doing it right now, is I could feel myself trying to fit myself into their box.
Yeah.
And I'm blocking something bigger and something that's more in a match and something that's more in alignment right now, like as we speak. And so this is a journey. This is a process. I'm 10 years into business, multiple companies, millions of dollars, all this. I'm still here. Okay. So like, you're in the process. Take what I'm sharing and allow it to become a practice for yourself to know what's true, communicate it, see how people are with you in response. And if it's not this feeling of expansion and more connection, it's not a match.
I'm loving this so much because it applies to any kind of relationship. I love that you're putting it in the context of business, personal romantic, but even personal friendships. And I think it's so genius to look at how do they react or how do they behave or who do people become when things are hard. Because it's easy to be like, oh, when things are great, of course, it feels. And I love, so here's what I want to ask. So you keep talking about alignment, when things are 100% in alignment, and how your practice is tuning into when it's not and feeling in all the different areas, right? Like it might be intuition. It might be like the throat, heart space around what do I say? What do I feel? It might be in your belly. It might be in your womb. How meticulous are you? If it's like 98% in alignment, are you still like, what's that 2% about?
So what you need to look for is where the way that they are being with you is a reflection of your own internal consciousness, right? So with this team member specifically, what she's reflecting back to me is the part of me that still feels not good enough. I'm not doing it right. So I need to look for where that's true inside of me and see if I can up-level it there. Once I can and have, and I feel confident in my doing it rightness, then I can re-enter into the relationship and see if it still exists. If it does, it's not mine.
Got it.
And then the other piece is that I really want to work with people that uplift me and that see that I'm not doing it right and want to help me do better and not get angry at me. Now, what's interesting is that she seems to be saying that I'm doing that to her. So it's a little what we would call an imago, a relationship. This is from Harville Hendricks' book, Getting the Love That You Want. It's a relationship that mirrors your exact wound. And so it's really that both and of looking at where do you still have work to do inside of yourself, and this person is just reflecting that back to you. And part of the up-leveling is that once you keep having these conversations and letting the people who are not reflecting that back to you go, making space for the people that do uplift you, guess what? Those parts heal.
Yeah.
So, you're going to have to just keep calibrating to this in your own life and ideally seek out mentors and coaches and guides who have been there who can help you see what you can't see for yourself.
Yes.
So this decision, I'm not going to make on my own. I'm going to seek out the support of somebody that I trust, who can help me to see what I'm not seeing about my own part, who won't escalate my guilt, shame, or fear, who won't let me avoid taking responsibility either, but who can really help me see what is true here, what is really true here.
So I have 2 questions from all of that. This is so, so good. And
thank you.
Let me ask about communication first. So it sounds like there's a huge emphasis in the way you interact with people in, again, your business and your personal life, which I love that it seems like you pretty much do them both the same. And that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Something around giving and receiving feedback. So I would love to know, because I think this is something women botch. I know I have botched it, and I know I've also done it really well, and feels like it's part of the process. There are probably still times when you're like, oh, I could have done that better. What are your best practices for offering feedback in a way that can be really well received?
It's funny that you're asking me this because I'm not the best, I have to say. But maybe I am. Who knows? So let's see what comes out, because I know you're supposed to, it's like the traditional thing is like say one positive and then, or 3 positives. And
the
then
Oreo cookie, right? The say something nice, say the mean thing. Yeah. Silly.
I really hate that. And I'm not willing to fit in that box because I'm not going to fake something nice. I'm not going to fake some appreciation. And so how can I still bring an open heart? I like to use the when this happened, I felt format. When this happened, I felt sad. I felt scared. I felt hurt. I felt disappointed. So when you didn't show up on that call and you didn't let me know you weren't going to be there, I felt abandoned. Now, I don't need to say to them, hey, you're really good at sending out my emails, but then you didn't show up on the call. You're really good at finding graphics for Pinterest. I don't know. That just seems fake and forced and like total BS.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to have straightforward, direct conversations with people that focus on what I'm feeling. When this happened, I felt this. Now, ideally, the person that you're speaking with is in their own evolutionary process enough to hear you and not get defensive. Oh, I hear that you felt abandoned when I didn't show up. Here's what happened. That's probably not going to happen. They're probably going to be like, well, da, 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 da. That's challenging because now you're being really evolutionary in your conversation, and they're not, and you have to still stay in your energetic space. Okay, I hear that you weren't there for this reason, and here was the impact on me. I felt abandoned, and now I've lost trust.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to lose trust over one little thing, and then that's the place where you might have to say, is this a match? Or you say, or you can give them some teaching on it and say, listen, I hear that you are feeling defensive about what I'm bringing. And I'd love to hear what you're feeling.
Yeah. So this is great. So let me pause for a second to really emphasize, if anyone's listening, if anyone's taking notes.
Are you feeling scared? Are you feeling embarrassed? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's in the offering of feedback. I loved that. When this happened, I felt, because you're not attacking them, you're addressing behavior. So it's not saying you're wrong, you're bad. It's saying this is what happens, and this is how I felt. So there's also this great piece of taking responsibility for your own experience there, not putting it on them. And then I love that you keep saying, whatever they come back to you with, saying, okay, I hear that. Because I think that's where tension and things escalate, when people don't feel seen and heard.
Yes.
So this is very peaceful and productive communication. And then also, I love that little extra piece that you just threw in there. I'm hearing you say this. How do you feel? Because I think communication is hard in general. And even as we get better and better, and you're saying depending on where we are in our evolutionary process ourselves, yeah, we could be really loving and kind. But depending on what the trigger is, the wound of the moment, sometimes we're just not. Sometimes we're further along on some stuff than others. So I think that's really helpful. So thank you for that. So,
and let me just add one quick thing there.
Yeah.
If you are charged about something, it's yours.
Yeah.
So if I am disappointed and like, that's mine.
Yeah.
That's mine. It's for me to deal with.
That is a great discernment point, because it's so much easier. I've never read any of her stuff. I listen to a lot of Byron Katie, and it's just so funny because she's basically just like, listen, it's always you. It's always friggin' you. Just handle your own stuff and like let people be people, and we'll all have much less suffering. So you also mentioned that you will not handle like this upcoming decision, the story that you were telling, yourself. So my question is, I know you're part of like an amazing community. You have so many brilliant friends in relationship space, in business space, and all these other things. How do you decide when to seek the counsel of a friend, or when to actually hire maybe a coach who might be a bit more objective?
Yeah. That's a really great question. When I'm in the process of deciding who will be my next coach, who will be my next mentor, and I'm part of 3 women's groups, 3 virtual women's groups, and I could go to any one of them with this issue for sure, but I feel like I want to use a coach or a mentor when I want to be able to get more in depth on some of the things that I'm working with. In these women's groups, it's, kind of stays somewhat surfacey because nobody has time to spend the hours that it will really take to get to know me and my business to the degree where they can truly call me out.
Yeah.
And that to me is what a mentor, coach, guide is all about. Is like, who's going to really see you and be able to show you what you are not showing, what you're not seeing. And so that's going to require somebody to spend time with you. And, my women friends they don't have that kind of time. They're all busy running their own businesses and their own relationships, many with kids. So I think that's part of it is like, I'm going to use a coach or a mentor where I'm really ready to get to depth. If I want to keep it surface and get some feedback on what do you think of this landing page? Where can I change things? I'll go to my women's group. If it's something to do with relationship with a guy, I go to my women's group. But if it's the real nitty gritty of how I'm showing up in my business, they can spark some things for sure. On one of my last, we have this thing called the Mistress Mind. And on one of my last calls with them where I was talking about my partners before my partners left, Nisha had said something and she had said something's off there. But that was the extent. She could sense that something was off, but she's not enough in my business to be able to see, So it's really about when you're ready to go to depth and do the work that you want to hire someone who's going to really go with you where, a friend just doesn't really have the time and energy to go. And frankly, I don't know that it'd be fair of you to ask a friend, someone to go there with you on a friend basis. Other than your partner, but your partner can't see you clearly.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why I asked, because even your closest friends, there's so much consideration in your answer, and I love that, right? What are the things that we bring to people, is it actually almost a burden? And it's not to say, it's just what you said, people are busy. So there's a level of depth that you seek, and sometimes that's the discernment point. What level of attention and time do I need? And if it's really a lot, that's the time to maybe get a coach, not go to a friend.
A lot is to me, it's more than an hour.
Yeah, for real. I'm with you on that.
I don't have, I have a couple hours for a friend here or there, but when my friends come to me for business coaching, I tell them join the Eyes Wide Open coaching group.
Yeah.
That you want my energy on your business? We've got a group for that. Join it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to spend our friend time on your business. That's I want you to join.
Yeah. And that's similar to relationships too, like you were saying. Your partner can't see you clearly. And sometimes your friends can't either, right? Because I feel like our friends, they love us.
Right.
So sometimes they don't see us as we are. They see us as they know we can be. They see our potential.
That's right.
And it's beautiful that they hold that loving space. But sometimes it's well, I am a little bit of a disaster right now, and I need someone to just call me out. So that's right. I think that's super helpful. And there are many, many amazing coaches for those things. So you have said more than once in this conversation, I'm not willing to fit in that box. And that is literally what this interview series is about. Untamed the Wild Soul Woman is saying, no, there is a box. This culture, this conditioning, this society that we live in. What's been the hardest box to step out of for you?
The one that I'm struggling with the most right now, or that I'm in challenge with the most, it's my own box, really. And it's my own box around money. And the way that my mind works, so I've got Alexis Neely and I have Ali Shanti. And the way that my mind works, it's always going straight to, how are we going to monetize this? How are we going to monetize this? And it's both a blessing and a curse, really. And it's a blessing because that's great. I can monetize a lot, and I really know how to do that, and I'm really good at it. But it's a curse because not everything needs to be monetized.
Oh. Yeah. Yes. Just keep going.
Yeah. And so I want to just be able to open my heart and give and not need to monetize everything. And so my current box has hundreds of thousands of dollars of marketing and business training and conditioning, and some of it's valuable and some of it needs to be let go. And I'm, in the inquiry of what to keep, what to let go. And I just keep coming back to feel your heart.
Yes.
Feel your heart and trust that it's going to work out and you can give. And seems to be working out. It seems to be working out really well. And that's the current box. And then on the flip side is the flip side of like the Ali Shanti self appreciating the Alexis Neely self and her gifts for business and monetization, and not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but really being like, yeah, bring out your Alexis Neely side when that's called for. And so that's the current box that I'm in, is like, okay, when is Alexis Neely called for? When is Ali Shanti called for? And who's running the ship here? And ultimately, it's the one who's behind it all. It's the one who sees Alexis Neely and Ali Shanti, and not associating too much with either of these two personalities, and knowing that I'm none of that. I am the one that's, I imagine her back here, that's like back here, and staying truly connected with this one, and moving from that space. So within that regard, like right now, last week, actually, I just started shooting a new web series that, I've been talking about reality TV for 10 years, probably. And I keep, getting to the networks, and I pitch them my idea, and they're like, what? Or like, yes, but then they like can't move forward on it, or they're like, yeah, we're going to do it. And then they never follow up. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done waiting for the entertainment industry. And the truth of the matter is like, I can't be funded by traditional mainstream advertisers anyway, because there's no big bank or pharmaceutical company or, big agri company that's going to fund me, and nor would I want them to, because I'm all about not them. So I need to take matters into my own hands. And I started filming this web series. So that's the box that I am moving beyond right now, is this idea that I have to wait for network television. No, I'm just going for it. When I first launched this, it's called The Whole Truth Show. And I created The Whole Truth Show back in 2011. It was the year that I lived at my farm, and I was doing nothing for money. I was like, if I'm doing it for money, I'm not doing it. And so I created this Whole Truth Show, and it was basically like a 2 to 4 hour every Tuesday live stream. We would just get on and hang out with our audience. There was no business model. And so after one season, we shut it down. It was fun. It was so fun. So we're bringing that back, The Whole Truth Show. And, I don't know it's really edgy, actually. It's really, oh God. So that's like the box that I'm moving beyond. And, the Alexis Neely part of me is like, what the fuck are you doing? Get back in that box.
Get back over here. So this is great. And this can be our wrap-up question, because I think it's so valuable. I've asked other women this too, but so it's scary. I don't believe in fearless, right? I believe we need fear. It's valuable. It's useful. How do you navigate it personally? When it's like, and I love that you're talking about, it's not that it's a split personality. It's just like these different pieces of yourself. We're never like, and that's part of that woman thing. But I think men have this too. We're not just one way.
No.
So I really dig how much you honor all those pieces of yourselves, and you bring them in, and you bring them into the different compartments of your life. Okay, so the fear part, and you use the word edgy. So there's this idea, right, of playing to your edges and like getting to the edge of your comfort zone. That's where growth happens. How do you know when you're at the edge, when you've stepped too far, maybe when to reel it back in a little bit?
Yeah. So the original tagline of my original blog was being afraid and doing it anyway. Because that's what it's about. That's what fear is about for me. It's like fully feeling the fear, knowing it's there, and moving through it anyway. And in fact, today, recognizing fear as a signpost of where I want to go.
Yeah. Yes.
And so, if there's fear, time to dive in. Like, okay, that's the next place. What can I do that will scare me? And that's why this web series. And so then the question is, well, what about when fear comes up in the moment? How do you make it not stop you? How do you let it not stop you? And one thing that really helps me a lot is keeping my body really clean with clean food. because I noticed, and I had a very distinct experience of this last Sunday, that when I put not clean food in my body, the fear is intensified many, many, many times over. And when I say not clean food, I mean processed sugar, meats that are not grass-fed, farm-raised, free-range, etc. So I was on this cleanse all last week. And then on Sunday, I went to Costco, and I was there with my friend, and, they have all the samples. And I was like, she's like, why are you even on the cleanse? I'm like, I know, I don't need to lose weight. Why am I even on this cleanse? Picking all the samples. So that was the end of the cleanse. That afternoon, I was like, so full of fear. And I was feeling great that morning. That afternoon, I was like, oh my God, what are we doing? Is this even worth anything? I'm putting in all this money, and all this uncertainty came up. Like, it's all about me. Is this like totally narcissistic? What the fuck? Oh my God. And so now I recognize that what it was. The next day, I was like, oh, I'm not on the cleanse to lose weight. I'm on the cleanse to keep my mind as clean as possible and as free of fear, the paralyzing fear as possible. And that's really what it's all about. And so, keep your body clean, keep your energy clean, keep your space clean. And then when you see the fear, dive in.
I love that. I really love that a lot. So thank you. And then just lastly, is there anything like under this topic of Untame the Wild Soul Woman that I didn't ask you that you would love to add?
I'd love to introduce you to my son. He just walked in. So.
Oh, cool. Hi.
Here he is. This is my son, Noah. And he's homeschooled. I am raising him untamed, and allowing him to be a free range child. So today he climbed a flat iron, I think. No, just hiked. He hiked today.
Cool.
And really try and allow yourself to be a free range adult. So
good. I think that might be the title of your interview, How to Be a Free Range Adult.
Yes.
Fantastic. So thank you. I know you are. You're so busy with your 4 companies and your kids and all your amazing stuff that you do. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do this and share so openly so many amazing, valuable points you made here. So thank you so much.
Thank you. You're so welcome.
All right. See you later.
I actually had a very lucid dream once that really made me believe in my dreams as information. They always were informative. I would have these recurring dreams, and at the time there wasn't the internet to like ask questions like, what does a dream of this mean? So I never had anywhere to kind of go. I just talked to people about it. But I had a dream once when I was I think 18 or 19 at the time, and the dream was really beautiful. I still remember it clearly. It was these 8 women that were on the shoreline at the beach. And that's one of my favorite places on the planet, is always where the sand meets the ocean water.